And you know what we are also excited about? The fact that we are T minus 4 days away from the showdown at the Benz. Falcons are back home to take on the Panthers. And of course, remember, they are 3-4, sitting atop the NFC South along with the Bucks who play tonight. So while they have their eye on what's going to go down and they're installing the game plan to take on the Panthers Sunday, let's just be real. They have their eyes on what's going on in Tampa tonight because the Bucks are taking on the Ravens. That should be an
Yes,
incredible
indeed.
matchup. Yeah, one of the better Thursday games that we're probably ever going to see this season.
Right.
But it
Hopefully.
also has weight, right. It has weight for both teams, but particularly for what we want to talk about, it's about the Bucks. And you think about this: we're in Week 7. Never thought we were going to be having a conversation in Week 7 about the Falcons being in the mix for a playoff position. So you got to wonder, Jarvis, are the Falcons looking at the outcome tonight and kind of saying, okay, what if the Bucks go 3-5? And it could go either way. What if the Bucks go 3-5 and then we take sole possession of first place? But what if the Bucks go 4-4? That could also bring pressure to say, hey, we know that we need to get a corner in place and we need to get a corner in place fast. So how much are we looking over our shoulders at the Bucks to have to make that decision?
I think as fans and people who cover this team, we're definitely going to be looking at it. But I think that regardless of what happens, Terry Fontenot has to do his due diligence, right? Because even though Arthur Smith is talked about being comfortable with the guys that he has on this roster, because that's why they're on this roster. He always
Mhm.
refers to, hey, he's very proud of the guys that they put together. And to be honest with you, they've done a good
You should
job
be,
of putting
yeah,
guys together with
with
what
what
they
they
have
have
to
to deal
deal
with.
with, right? So they are working what they're working with. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
yeah, I barely can get it out. But I think that the thing though is for Farno though, he has to say, I have to take advantage of every opportunity that I get better. If somebody is making a call saying, "Hey, you interested in the guy?" He has to take that phone call. Or if he's looking around the league, and I know he has people all over the league and within the division as well, and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, what would it take for this guy?" And I think that Terry
Yes.
Fontenot has to do his due diligence regardless of what
Mhm.
happened, the outcome of this game, because I think that when you are 7 games into the season, like you mentioned, and you're tied for first place in the
Mhm.
division when this team was ranked 45th. Arthur Smith said 45th out of 32 teams. I still chuckle every time I bring that up. But anyway, those are some of the things that you have to take a look and appreciate that for where you are. But you always have to look to get better as a general manager of this team.
Yeah, and you could do something like get yourself another version of a Casey Hayward, where Casey
Right.
Hayward may not have been someone that we even talked about when we were looking at the available free agents earlier this year in the offseason. But when they got him, like, oh, yeah, we remember Casey Hayward. He was pretty good. And then he
Mm-hmm.
showed shades of who he used to be before he went on IR. Maybe you find a guy like that who is really still, cap friendly, regardless of the fact that you have $9.2 million to work with. Or
Right.
the other thing is this: we just saw that, and I think it's Kadarius Tony. I just saw that he was traded. So the Giants and I believe the Chiefs are making a trade.
Yeah.
When you went to bed last night, did you really
And they're
expect
already
the
Super
room
Bowl
was going to be an
contenders.
Eagle?
The Chiefs are already Super Bowl contenders, and
Exactly.
they're
And look
still
at the
making moves.
Eagles
Yeah,
with
yeah.
with a dominant defense, and they said, "Hey, Bears, you willing? You
So
interested
with
in sending Robert
Robert
Quinn our
Quinn.
way?"
Wow.
So there could also be a conversation, to your point, that Terry Fontenot is having with other teams about players that we would never think about, but that team, for whatever reason, might start shopping. And if you want to find out about more of that kind of information where you're trying to figure out, kind of that bigger picture of Locked On Sports Today, that's what'll give it to you. So, of
Right.
course, you always listen to us first. We appreciate you. But really, your next listen, check them out because they give you the biggest stories of the day. So, they're probably giving you reaction to the Robert Quinn trade and how that's a trickle down effect in a very muddled up NFC. They give you instant reaction. So, if another blockbuster trade comes, that's where you want to go. Big game recaps. We told you, big game tonight, one of the best Thursday night games in recent memory. They'll tell you about it. And hey, kind of like you look for and for the culture right here on ATL Day Ones, they have their version on Locked On Sports Today, and they call it Shake of the Day. So check it out. Available on Odyssey app, available on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Check them out. And I don't doubt that they're probably having this same conversation because the Falcons are in the mix and people are talking about
Right.
what they can actually do and whether or not, to our point, Do they go out and look for somebody, or do they find themselves at least in a situation where, hey, Jarvis, if they can't find the right trade partner, at least and they have an Isaiah Oliver who knows the system and you can move him around. Darren Hall has been serviceable since he's been in there. And worst case scenario, you may not want to use Avery Williams, but at least he played corner last year, and at least he also is now in his second year of Dean Peace's system. Should you have to go that route, and maybe you only do it against the likes of the Panthers, because let's face it, what they did to the Bucs was an aberration. Let's just keep it real. So ultimately speaking, that might weigh in as well. Like, okay, let's see how it goes this Sunday. And then to our point, we know that they have a little bit of a, I don't want to call it a super soft schedule, but kind of a soft schedule, because you play the Panthers again, you play the Steelers, and all kinds of teams before your bye, that maybe it gives you at least wiggle room and a comfortability that you have the guys I just mentioned, should you not be able to get anybody, any DBs in on before the trade deadline.
I mean, because he also not only has Terry Fontenot has to think about today, he has to think about the future as well.
Yes.
And you don't want
Yes.
to mortgage future draft picks for a guy that or rent a player, because that's what I don't want the Falcons to do. I don't want them to get guys who are going into their last year of their contracts, because I have a thing about guys who just ball out in their last year of their contracts. More than likely, that's the only time they're going to ball out in the last year of their contract. So I think that, you know, in order for, if there's a move out there, like a guy like a Casey Hay, who nobody really checking for, but is a vet and can kind of give you some a solid foundation as your team gets back healthy. And I think that you make that move, but you don't go out and get guys like a Bradley Chubb, who's going into, obviously he can help the Falcons, but he's going into the last year of his contract. So those are the guys I will stay away from, because I know everybody want to bring up the whole, they're going to have a lot of money next year, but they still have to pay their guys. AJ Terrell, Chris Lynch is going to have to get paid. All those, like, think about what we're talking about now. We talked about the 2020 draft. Those guys are up. They're up. So that's something that you're going to have to pay attention to and keep an eye on. And Terry Fontenot is going to have to do that as well. So, but I think the one thing that also helps me out and keeps me at ease if they don't make a move is the fact that D. Alford is back. He was limited in practice. Back at practice Wednesday, and he was in a limited fashion. That's a good sign. And Arthur Smith talked about how he was day to day. So if they're out there and he's feeling well and he's doing what he's supposed to do, he's going to be out there on Sunday. So those are some of the things that, you know, helps me out. But, you know, it's always cool to talk about bringing new guys in, because hey, that's just how we are, right?
Yeah, exactly. And again, if there's somebody out there, like you said, who it makes sense to go and get that guy, because maybe he's not in the final year of his contract and is going to ball out and cost you just to ball out for like 10 games, you know, and like the Browns aren't going to say, hey, give me Greedy Williams, like give me everything, all that you have.
Right. Yeah.
For him, okay, yeah. But Terry Fontenot has shown that he is a really good negotiator. He can leverage what he has, and then Arthur Smith obviously has shown that he can use exactly who and what he has, because somehow, some way, in spite of Marcus Mariota, this team is still 3-4. And so I was thinking about this, and you know, Jarvis, I'm just doing this for kicks and giggles because of course we know better, but he's still trending, so I'm still asking. With the playoffs within reach right now,
always true.
It's safe to say, but is it safe to say that Marcus Mariota has been marked as safe again this week?
Yeah, and you know what? To be honest with you, I don't mind having this conversation, or at least this bring up every week, because that's what it is. It is what it is. He's a professional. He's a professional athlete, and of course, if he doesn't play well, we're gonna point it out. If he does play well, we're gonna point that out as well. So I think those are some of the things that. But to answer your question, I do believe he is safe, because, like, you know, this is something that the Falcons are going to have to continue to work through. It's going to be a week-to-week thing. I wholeheartedly believe that if there's a situation where the Marcus Mariota is putting his team in bad situations, I know for a fact that Arthur Smith will make that change. And I just don't feel like that they are at that point right now. If you would continue to turn the ball over and fumbling snaps and all that stuff, we probably would have seen Desmond Ridder. But since that's not the case, and like the Falcons are, you know, people kind of understand what's going on with the offensive line. Like, hey, You can't throw the ball 35 times. I don't care
Right.
who's back there at quarterback. They're gonna have that heat on their behind. So I think you kind of move along, lick your wounds, and come back and try to get this dub against Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, and also buy yourself one more week with the fact that you're probably going to get Cordero Patterson back out there next week. So that should bolster
Yes.
your run attack. And hopefully Damian Williams is not far behind. Now, you know what else should bolster energy for you guys? That's a Built Bar. Man,
Yes.
it's Thursday. You're trying to get through the rest of the week. You just got really a day and a half, and then it's the weekend. But if you need a little uptick and you need a little push in your life that's healthy, go for a Built Bar. And actually go for the cookie dough chunk puffs because they are covered in 100% real chocolate and pretty good light, chewy texture. But always we tell you about the healthy things on this show, and that bar is not outside of the realm of healthy. It's actually way inside with 160 grams of calories rather that you're able to take advantage of, but also 15 grams of protein. So really you get to kind of balance that out. And hey, it's really easy to go and get more information and find out how you can order. You go to built.com, locked 15, and you get 15% off that first order. So go check out the cookie dough chunk puffs right now, and really anything in that entire spread, because they really have a lot to offer you. That is built.com. Use the code locked on 15 and you will get 15% off your very first order.